What happens when an ordinary woman walks into a private shooting club of billionaires and proves that money can't buy skill? Inside the Highland Marksman Club in Texas, the air smelled of gunpowder and expensive cigars. The shooting lanes were polished like glass. The walls decorated with trophies and mounted. Rifles worth more than most people's houses. Only the richest of the rich were allowed inside. Richard Hale, son of a powerful oil baron, stood at the center of attention. Dressed in designer clothes and shooting with a custom rifle plated in silver, he fired another perfect shot. The bullet punched the target dead center. The crowd erupted with claps and cheers. They adored him. Richard smirked as if he owned the place. In his world, he was untouchable. Then the heavy wooden doors swung open. The room went quiet for a moment as a woman walked in. Sarah Collins, 36, an accountant. Her clothes were simple, almost out of place in that glittering hall. No expensive gear, no golden rifle case, just a worn leather purse slung over her shoulder and a Glock 19 resting inside it. The crowd glanced at one another, smirking. She didn't look like she belonged there. Richard tilted his head, mocking her with a half-smile. "Well," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Did you get lost on your way to the supermarket?" The room burst into laughter. A few people even pulled out their phones, ready to record whatever humiliation would follow. But Sarah didn't flinch. She walked calmly to the line, her eyes steady. "I came to shoot," she said simply. "Nothing else." Richard scoffed, waving his hand like she was a joke. "You shoot? I'll bet $10,000 you can't even hit the target once." The laughter grew louder. 10,000 was pocket change for them. But the way he said it made it sound like an impossible challenge. Sarah's reply silenced the room. "I don't want your money," she said quietly, "but I'll take your challenge." The crowd leaned in. Phones were lifted higher. Sarah pulled out her Glock. It wasn't flashy. The black paint was faded in places, the grip worn from years of use. She raised it, calm and steady. A deep silence fell over the hall. She fired. Bullseye! Gasps filled the air. Someone dropped their drink. Richard's smirk twitched, but he held it. "Lucky shot," he muttered. Sarah fired again. Bullseye. Murmurs spread. The laughter was gone. She fired a third time. Another bullseye. The room was silent now. The smirk slid off Richard's face. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. This woman wasn't ordinary. What nobody in that club knew was that Sarah had been trained by her late husband, Daniel Collins. He wasn't just any soldier. He was a decorated Navy SEAL sniper, known among his brothers as the Phantom, because no target he aimed at ever walked away. Before he died in service, he taught Sarah everything he knew. She carried his lessons, his discipline, and his spirit with her. Every shot she took was a promise she made to him, never let his legacy die. The official match began. Richard strutted to the line, shoulders high, smirk returned. He fired fast, showing off, hitting the target with skill but also arrogance. The crowd cheered every time he pulled the trigger. But Sarah didn't rush. She lined up each shot, breathed slow, and fired with deadly calm. Every bullet landed exactly where she wanted. By the fourth round, the cheering had grown quieter. By the seventh round, even Richard's closest allies shifted uncomfortably. Sweat glistened on his forehead. He was good, but she was perfect. Then came the final round. Richard brought out his prized possession, a custom-made precision rifle worth thousands of dollars imported from Europe. It gleamed under the lights like a jewel. He loaded it, took careful aim, and fired. The bullet landed near perfect. The crowd erupted with applause, clinging to hope that their golden boy would not be embarrassed. Then Sarah stepped up. No luxury gear, no shining rifle, just her old Glock. She aimed, calm as ever, and fired. Bullseye. Another, and another. By the time she fired her 10th round, 10 bullseyes marked the target like a signature only she could write. The room erupted, but not in laughter or mockery this time. Shock, awe, disbelief. The club manager, Laura Mitchell, stepped forward, her voice firm. "Sarah Collins wins. Fair and square." Gasps turned to murmurs. Some clapped, others shook their heads in disbelief. Richard's face burned red. His fists clenched around his rifle. "This is rigged!" he shouted. "Her gun must be tampered with!" But no one believed him anymore. The same crowd that once cheered his every shot now stared at him with doubt, even pity. His power was gone. Sarah calmly holstered her Glock, stepped closer to Richard, and locked eyes with him. Her voice was steady, sharp enough to cut through the heavy silence. "You were never the best, Richard, just the loudest." That silence afterward was heavier than any gunshot. The crowd didn't clap, didn't cheer. They just watched. For the first time, Richard Hale had no words. Sarah turned and walked out, her head high, her promise to her husband kept. For more interesting stories, subscribe to HOA Storytime.